So if you're like most people, you have a collection of tiny little icons running quietly in the corner of your browser.
Hmm.
They promise utility, convenience, maybe an AI summary tool or a quick VPN connection.
The things that make the web easier.
Exactly. We rely on them. But what if the very act of relying on those tools made you vulnerable? Turning your trusted utilities into, well, weapons against you.
That's a scary thought.
We're doing a deep dive today into an attack campaign that is, I think, a huge wake-up call for endpoint security. The headline shock is pretty profound. Dozens of legitimate Chrome extensions were hijacked, weaponized with malicious code.
And then silently expose the data of millions of users.
We're talking about a staggering scale here. The research, which just broke in late December 2025, indicates at least 35 extensions were compromised.
Exposing more than 2.6 million users to massive credential and data theft. And this wasn't, a simple smash and grab. This was a sophisticated operation targeting the supply chain itself. So our mission today is really to dissect exactly how this was achieved. This isn't just a news report. It's an analysis of a highly effective attack vector.
Okay.
We need to analyze the attack in two parts. First, how the threat actors managed to subvert the trust process using some incredibly sophisticated phishing targeting the developers.
That's second.
And second, why the data they were after, cookies and user access tokens, are so much more dangerous than just simple stolen passwords. These tokens, they're the keys to your active online session.
Okay, let's unpack this by starting at the initial breach. This attack wasn't focused on breaching a user or a big corporate network directly.
No.
It was social engineering targeted at the supply chain, the people who build the tools.
Yeah.
And the first publicly reported case involved the cybersecurity firm Cyberhaven.
That's right.
An employee of one of these development teams was targeted right around December 24th.
Which is not a coincidence. The attackers clearly understood that vigilance might be a little low during the holidays.
Definitely. And by December 27th, the malicious version of their extension was already published to the Chrome web store.
Completely bypassing the security checks. They moved so fast from compromise to deployment.
So what was the lure? How did they get in?
Well, the whole mechanism of compromise, it relied entirely on manufacturing urgency. The phishing email was designed to look incredibly legitimate.
Like it was from Google itself.
Exactly. Purporting to be from Google Chrome Web Store developer support. And the lure was carefully chosen to trigger panic in a developer. The extension was allegedly at imminent risk of removal.
That's the panic button right there, a violation of developer program policies.
That immediate instinct to fix an urgent policy violation must have been incredibly powerful. You'd click the link, right? You'd assume you're going to a Google page.
Of course.
And this is where the technical sophistication comes in. They didn't ask the developer to type in their password. They redirected them to grant permissions to a malicious OF application.
An OF app named Privacy Policy Extension, which sounds harmless enough.
Sounds very harmless.
For our listener who might not be familiar with that term, an O app, can you clarify what permissions they were actually giving up?
Absolutely. Think of OAuth as a sort of digital valet service. When you authorize that malicious app, you weren't giving the attacker your front door key, your password,
Okay.
but you were giving them the permanent authority through this third-party app to log in and act on your behalf.
So in this case, the attacker gained the permissions to access the developer's Chrome web store account.
They didn't need to steal the static password. They stole the authority.
And once the attacker had that authority, they just uploaded the compromised extension with their malicious code right to the Chrome web store.
Which brings us to the truly disturbing part. Cyberhaven confirmed this malicious infected extension was approved for publication after it went through the customary Chrome Web Store security review.
Wait, so it passed the review?
It passed. By coming from a trusted, albeit compromised, developer account, the security systems just failed to flag the danger.
So the attackers successfully subverted the very systems designed to protect millions of us.
That's exactly right.
The security check failed because the source was trusted. And this is why experts are calling this whole category of vulnerability the soft underbelly of web security.
Yeah, that's a perfect term for it.
Or Ashed, the CEO of Layer X Security, used that exact phrase. I think it's critical to understand why that's so accurate.
It's accurate because the foundational permissions model. When you install an extension, you just, you casually click accept, But you are often granting that tool extensive permissions.
Access to the most sensitive information you handle online.
And this is more than just access to your login screen. We're talking about the trifecta of critical data that enables session hijacking.
Your cookies, your access tokens, and your identity info.
Right, and unlike a password, an access token is proof of a successful, currently authenticated session. If an extension can read or steal that token,
It doesn't need your password.
it doesn't need your password. And crucially, it bypasses security layers like two-factor authentication. It's effectively stealing your current validated identity.
That connection, the theft of a live session token being more dangerous than a static password, that's the fundamental insight here.
And it extends far beyond personal security. This is a huge organizational blind spot. As Ahish had noted, many organizations, quote, don't even know what extensions they have installed on their endpoints.
So they have no idea what their exposure even is.
None. By hitting the developer, the supply chain, the attackers achieved this incredible force multiplier. They didn't need to phish 2.6 million individual users.
They just injected code into a source already trusted by all of them.
And that malicious code could immediately start compromising enterprise data if just one employee was running one of these affected tools.
The scale is just.
Yeah.
It's what makes this so scary. Okay, let's move on and talk about how researchers actually uncovered the true breadth of this campaign, how they connected that one case to a massive coordinated operation.
Yeah.
Researchers like Jamie Blasco, the CTO of Nudge Security, started looking for digital fingerprints.
Right.
And they identified additional domains that resolved to the exact same command and control server IP address used in that initial Cyberhaven breach.
And just to clarify that for the listener, a CNC server,
Command and control.
command and control, yeah. It's essentially the central digital brain. It's the hidden headquarters that receives all the stolen data, all those cookies and tokens.
And it can send new commands back out to the compromised extensions.
Exactly. So identifying that common CNC IP address, along with research from firms like Secure Annex, allowed them to build out a list revealing the true massive diversity of these compromised extensions.
And this list is fascinating because it shows the attackers were not picky at all. They hit major utility and privacy tools like VPNCity, InterNext VPN, Reader Mode.
Proxy switch Omega 2, which is a big one.
Very big one. But they also targeted the most popular category right now, AI tools. We saw AI assistant ChatGPT and Gemini for Chrome, Bard AI chat extension.
GPT-4 summary with OpenAI was on there as well.
They even targeted extensions for commerce and shopping, things like Ernie up to 20% cash back.
And reward search automator. That list alone confirms this was a really opportunistic financial grab.
For sure.
And the forensics suggest this wasn't a quick operation. John Tuckner of Secure Annex indicated the campaign might have been running since April 5, 2023.
Or even earlier.
Possibly much earlier. They found domain registration dates stretching back incredibly far. One domain, negathsg.com, was registered in August 2022.
And another one, sclpfybm.com, went all the way back to July 2021.
2021.
So that raises a really important question. If these domains, these central hubs for data theft, were registered as early as 2021, why did it take researchers until late 2025 to connect the dots, to reveal the huge scale of this?
That is the critical question. It suggests the attackers were extremely careful, maybe keeping the malicious payloads dormant for a while or rotating their attack vectors frequently.
They were patient.
Very. It wasn't until the Cyberhaven incident provided a clear, recent sample of the code that researchers could really start cross-referencing these indicators of compromise across the whole extension ecosystem.
Okay, so let's talk about the detective work, the code linkage itself.
Right. So Tuckner's team traced specific payload variants. They found what they called Code 1, which was linked to the Cyberhaven attack, and it was present in the popular Reader Mode extension.
So Reader Mode contained Code 1. What was the trail marker that linked it to the rest of the campaign?
Well, the code inside Reader Mode also contained an additional indicator, what we're calling Code 2, which was linked back to that older domain, sclpfybn.com.
And if we follow Code 2, where does that lead?
Code 2 showed up in Reward Search Automator. But here's the truly sophisticated part. It wasn't just sitting there looking like malware.
How was it hidden?
It was cunningly masked as safe browsing functionality, when in reality, it was just secretly exfiltrating data. And what's more, that same extension also contained a third indicator, Code 3.
And Code 3 was masked as e-commerce functionality, linking to that other domain, tnagothsg.com.
Precisely. And by following Code 3, they linked it directly to Ernie up to 20% cash back an extension that still contained this masked code and was last updated way back in April 2023.
Wow, so that's the irrefutable proof. Seemingly unrelated tools were all infected with variants of the same core payload.
It confirms a singular, highly coordinated, and long-running attack campaign.
The technical ability to pivot code across dozens of diverse extensions, I mean, that shows a professional, high-level organization is behind this.
Absolutely.
So if the sophistication is this high, let's talk about the payout. What were they going after that justified all this effort?
Right.
Let's zoom in on the specific data they targeted based on the analysis of the malicious code in the Cyberhaven add-on. The code had an incredibly specific objective.
It targeted identity, data, and access tokens of Facebook accounts.
But not just any Facebook accounts.
No, they weren't aiming for the casual user. They were primarily trying to single out Facebook ads users.
And that one detail targeting ad users tells you everything about the motivation, right?
It's all financial. They're going after high-value business accounts, which can be leveraged for fraud or, more commonly, for running huge ad campaigns that the real account owner then has to pay for.
And they weren't just relying on stolen tokens. They were actively trying to bypass two-factor authentication, 2FA.
Which is supposed to be that final security frontier.
So how does an extension, something that's just running on your machine, bypass 2FA?
You used a highly specific listener. The malicious code actively monitored for mouse-click events, but only on the Facebook.com website.
Okay.
So every time a user clicked something on a Facebook page, the code would check the page for images containing the substring car show code in the image's source attribute.
And if it found one?
If it found that string, it immediately sent the image to the CNC server.
They were stealing QR codes. We need to make this mechanism really clear. Why is stealing a QR code a 2FA bypass?
Okay, so think of the last time you got a new phone or logged in from an unfamiliar place. Facebook sometimes shows a one-time use QR code on your screen that you scan with a trusted device to prove it's you. It finalizes the login without needing a code generator.
Right, it's a golden ticket.
It's a temporary, unique form of authentication that bypasses all the standard checks. The attacker steals that brief, time-sensitive code right off your screen before you even realize it's happened.
And they use that stolen image to complete the authentication on their end.
Taking over the account without ever needing the 6-digit code from your phone or authenticator app. It's an elegant and, well, a devastating way to compromise a high-value account.
That's a huge step up from typical credential theft. This is targeted session hijacking, all aimed at monetization.
It is.
Before we conclude, though, we have to look at one final complicating factor here, because not all the data exposure uncovered was the result of this sophisticated developer phishing hack.
That's right. Researchers found evidence of a separate but related security concern.
What was that?
It was revealed that the presence of data-gathering code in some of these extensions wasn't always a post-compromise infection.
So it wasn't a hack?
In some cases, no. The developers themselves intentionally included data-gathering code as part of a monetization software development kit, an SDK.
And that SDK stealthily exfiltrated detailed browsing data as a way to make money?
Exactly.
So this is not a hack. This is an accepted but ethically gray business practice that abuses user trust. It just confuses the whole landscape.
It really does.
The source material highlighted the extension visual effects for Google Meet. Before the developer sold it, they tried to monetize it using an ad blocking library.
And researchers found that this library was suspected to be linked to Urban VPN and included this exact same kind of data exfiltration code.
This is a crucial distinction for the listener, then.
It really is. The result is the same, right? Data is leaving your machine.
But the vector is totally different. The phishing campaign was external malicious theft of a trusted source.
That was an attack. The monetization SDK, though, that's more of an internal, a self-inflicted wound where the developer is basically selling your browsing history to a third party.
Which just muddies the water completely. It makes mitigation so much harder.
Because the line between a useful tool and, well, surveillance just becomes invisible.
And speaking of mitigation, let's bring this back to the immediate ongoing risk. The compromised Cyberhaven add-on was quickly removed from the Chrome Web Store, and a lot of others have been updated.
Right.
But that doesn't solve the problem for you, the individual listener.
No, and we have to emphasize, or Eshed's critical warning here, as long as the compromised version of the extension is still live on the endpoint, hackers can still access it and exfiltrate data.
Removal from the store just stops new downloads.
You have to manually remove it from your machine.
Let's distill the core lessons for you then. First, the supply chain is the target. Phishing is increasingly targeting the developer layer, not just the user.
Second, the threat is sophisticated and stealthy. It's capable of bypassing security reviews, even 2FA, to target high-value accounts like Facebook ads users.
And third, even if you avoid the hack, you have to be aware of these internal monetization tactics that are equally exfiltrating your data.
And the final piece of context here. It's still officially unclear who is behind this entire campaign and whether the extensive developer phishing operation is structurally linked to the monetization SDK code.
So we have two overlapping, distinct threats.
Both exploiting the exact same weak point, the browser extension. The true scope of this entire attack ecosystem is still being uncovered.
So here's the final provocative thought we'll leave you with, based on the reality that a compromised extension remains a threat until it is manually removed from your endpoint. The next time you install a utility, ask yourself, does this tool for organizing my tabs or summarizing an article really need permission to read my corporate Slack messages, my financial cookies, and all the data on all the websites I visit?
It's time to audit your trust.
Both personally and organizationally, because every extension you install represents maximum permissions and a continuous active risk.